What's going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and we are here with another video. And literally my first match in ranked, I actually ended up going against Baronne de FLEUR, and I wanted to show it because I think it was pretty interesting to show how quick this deck has already been established and how people are already learning how to use it. I'm gonna be full disclosure here. I just watched like two videos from Decade. I think his name is Decade. Hold on. Yeah, Decade. Literally two videos of him talking about how easy it is to get the Baronne de FLEUR out. And I'll have to, which is cool to say, is that this person that I fight doesn't even use those methods. So there's multiple different ways to get the card out, which is pretty cool. It means that the card is very flexible, which also is very scary because it means the card is very flexible. You definitely are gonna probably run into this deck, and I kind of want to maybe go and maybe do a video like a how to counter it kind of deck. Let's go into the match. Now, I like to use, especially when there's new stuff out, spell counters is still one of the best decks that I know how to pilot because people don't know what I'm doing. So let me just give a quick little pause because I want to, he gets the first turn, and I always will give them first turn spell counters because it's very easy to disrupt what they're doing on my turn when they don't know what I'm doing. So this type of hand, if I see spell, I'm just going to explain what I see in my hand, and hopefully you guys understand that too. So if I see spell power mastery, that means that I can get my big guy out, right? That 9 times out of 10 means I can get my big guy out. I just have to make sure that he doesn't negate it. I don't know at this moment what this guy is playing. We all know what he is playing now. But when he is doing his combo, I just have to be wary that I need something that can house spell counters. That card cannot be negated, and as long as I can get up to 6, I can kill everything he has on his field, provided that he doesn't negate the effect. So you have to be really careful. So he goes on his first turn, and he does cross out Designator, and he chooses Ash Blossom. If you guys don't know what that means, pretty much he's trying to say if you can't Ash Blossom this turn. So if I had a negate or anything like that, I would have to negate this card straight up and then have an Ash Blossom to stop one part of his combo. So he's already trying to show that, hey, stupid reminders. He's already trying to show that Ash Blossom is very detrimental to the deck. Depending on what card you Ash Blossom, then obviously that's going to make it a little bit harder for him to get his combo out. There are certain cards that, certain decks that can go through a negate, and they could still go through a gate. I would think that this deck is not. It's very combo extensive. I think as people get used to seeing it, you'll know what to Ash and what not to Ash. And I think that that's what this guy is saying. That's why he actually spec'd in, or he probably already has this in all his decks, is to do that right in the opening turn, so it can't be used against him. So he does that, and then he's gonna go right into the reinforcements of the army. So he only has 3 cards at this point, right? So reinforcement of the army is gonna give him a specific warrior, and then he knows that that's gonna like kind of thing is so I could have ashed this, right? So you can almost like maybe pay attention, and he gets the junk converter. Junk converter is gonna do his thing. I'm gonna pause right there, and this the cyber synchron. So he already had this in his hand, and he had this one. This is a warrior. This is not a warrior. That's a damn machine. But he already had this in his hand. I'm trying to like actually hand count him because I really want to know like what he had and if he was able to do anything without the junk converter. But he had this in his hand, so he throws it to the graveyard. Gets junk synchron, so that was searched for as well. Junk synchron is gonna get the junk converter. Now he has 5, and he had this one as well. So Doppel warrior, I know it's Doppel. So far in his hand, he just had the reinforcement of the army. He had the cyber synchron. He didn't have this. He had the Doppel warrior, so that's 3, and then he had the cross out designator, right? So there's one more card in his hand that I have to make sure I pay attention to because his opening 5, right? So what was his opening 5? Right now, I would think that if I ashed his thing, his hand is pretty dead. His hand is pretty screwed without the junk converter, unless he had like 2 of it or something like that. So that comes out. That's his 4 cards right there. Those go to the graveyard. This would have never even happened. Junk speeder. Now things get out of control. This card, as I saw in another video, completely separate video, that they said that this card is literally a soul charge for the synchron deck, and it literally is. If this card is special summoned, there we go. If the card is special summoned, you can special summon as many synchron tuners as possible with different levels from your deck in defense position. You can special summon, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except synchro monsters the turn you activate this effect, and this the last part doesn't have to care because he's not going to stay here for long enough. This effect is insane, and as long as you can keep cycling properly, you'll be able to use every single tuner that comes out. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. So this is the newer card, I think, Stardust Synchron, and it has a pretty nasty effect. It's very usable, very flexible as well. If this card is in the hand or the graveyard, we'll see this later. You contribute 1 and special summon it, it gets banished when you use it. So right now, you're not going to be using that effect. If this card is normal summon or special summon, you can add 1 spell or trap that designates a Stardust Dragon. That's the effect he's using right now. And he's going to get Stardust Illumination. And he's going to be using that very quickly. Boom, normal spell, send 1 Stardust monster from your deck to the graveyard. If you control Stardust Dragon or a Synchro monster that listed as in the text, you can special summon it instead. He's not going to be using that effect, he's just going to be throwing it into the graveyard. Now you also can see you can banish this card from the graveyard, then target 1 Stardust monster you control and increases or decreases level by 1. You will be seeing that soon. So he chose the Stardust Trail, which is this card right here. He uses this later, but as you can see, like the Ash in the beginning really did shit. Or if you were to go first against this deck, I feel like this deck does need to go first, but I think if you put it in second and set up a bunch of negates, I think the deck kind of crumbles, especially if you have more than 1 negate. Like if I were to negate his Nobleman Cross out and then negate his follow-up reinforcement of the army, I think this guy's just crumbled. So going first, if you definitely want to have some going first decks that set up a bunch of stuff, which is also this deck as well. So this deck is good for going first, so you can also make this deck to counter the deck, so then it's going to be a turn first war. But hey, you know, this is what you guys want. All right, so then he's going to target this, bring it down to 3, and when bringing it down to 3 from 4, he's going to make 3 and 7, and boom, Baronne de FLEUR is here. Now one thing I was like, when I was watching this card, I was really like not confused, but I didn't realize how actually limited a little bit it is. Now once per turn you can target 1 card on the field and destroy it, right? But this one is separate from this effect. Once while face up on the field, when a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy the card. You can only use the previous effect once per turn. Now, I'm pretty sure what they're saying says once while face up on the field. So this, I don't know if this negate is once per turn or it's actually like once per forever. Like it's just like you just use it once. I think it is, you can only use it once. But you guys let me know in the comment section below. So then he does it. Since he sacrificed the Doppelganger for Synchro, he gets 2 tokens. So boom, now he has even more material. Stardust now is going to sacrifice tribute 1 card to bring itself back. And boom, he's gonna make another 5. And TG Hyper Librarian. Now I thought from here he was about to go Synchro Crazy and then refill his hand. I think still, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, we still don't know what his last card in his hand is, right? So now he's gonna immediately Synchro it off. And then boom, go into the Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler is going to flip a bunch of cards. And he gets to take a monster, a light or dark monster, I think, from that. He's gonna opt to take a Stardust Synchron in the hand. There we go. 2 and a 1 is gonna make this guy. And then when you synchro that, you can target a tuner, bring that back, take the 8 and a 1, make a level 9. Hot Dragon. Now this one, I think that this is where they would make the Mafiette or whatever monster, or they would have tried to opt to make it first. That's one of the newer ones I saw in Decade's video. So this other level 9s, you also, I think another one that maybe do would maybe have been the virtual world monster to first like banishing, because a lot of cards are disrupted by not being able to go to the graveyard. I feel like that might be a little bit better, but this card's not that bad. Specifically for the first effect, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effect until the end of the turn. This was a little bit of a hassle to get around. So I know he has an Omni negate on this one, but this one is a face-up card. So for Pendulums, it's kind of a risky for me because he can just negate one of my Pendulums effects, and then when you negate a card that houses spell counters, it literally takes all the spell counters off of it. So I have to bait him into using this as much as I can possible. Jet Synchron is going to activate, getting him another Junk Synchron. So we know from his hand, outside of the other cards, is that in his hand, from everything he's gained, is a Stardust Synchron and a Junk Synchron. And then there's another card in there, I have no idea what the heck it is, but he didn't even use it. So now he's gonna pass the turn over to me. So now, like I said, my goal here is to burn these 2 negates before I even use this card. I can't use this card while this is up, because he could actually quick effect if you play a spell, and he can actually chain it onto this, which is, I don't want him to do that. And also I would have loved to do this, because if this card in my possession is destroyed by a card effect, which if it would be this, I would be in a good spot too, because then I get a free thing anyway. But so first I start off by normal summoning this. So he has nothing to just have me normal summon. He can't really do anything. So then I put out a pendulum right there. So I feel like once this is the opponent, once you start seeing that it's spell counter pendulum, like they just like, wait, what do I negate? So I'm playing very slowly, even though this is gonna go fast. So I'm just putting this stuff out to bait. I need one of these two to start housing spell counters. I don't care which one it is. So I'm playing it, played my other one, and I'm like, is he gonna negate this? Okay, he doesn't. So now I'm gonna pendulum summon that card, just because I can. Just because I'm just like trying to throw stuff. So I'm forcing him to use it. I'm gonna bounce this card. He has to negate it. He uses the red dragon, so okay, cool. So now I am not afraid of him. Now I know that my spell counters are pretty much open. He negates this, but it does stay on the field. Now the next part is to bait his Baron de FLEUR. Now how do I bait that card? Now I'm like, okay, I still have these two monsters on the field. I'm gonna go into this. Now I've learned this mistake many of times, is that this card immediately activates its effect when it comes out in the field, and that's when it gets spell counters. But he was afraid of that, which technically, yes, this card can that card technically can kill off his Baron de FLEUR, but he could also have negated that then. He could have still left it open, but he decided not even to mess around with it, and he immediately negates it. So once he does that, I know that he has nothing left on the field. There's nothing he can do in his hand. We know, unless the one card he had was Ash that he's been holding on in his hand for like 8 years, but I think he can't, or at least he drew the one Ash away. That would have been insane. He drew 2 ashes, but now I know that the board's kind of free. I'm gonna stack all my spell counters on Magical Abductor, but you can still see how much of a hassle it is to get through that. If he didn't have this, I would have had a ridiculously stronger board. So now it's just doing this and putting and stacking as many things on this one card. Now I have 7, and then once you have at least 6, I'm reading this card so you guys know what I'm talking about. So what I love about this card is that you have to negate the effect here now, and I've said this in the last video I did on spell counters. Remove 6 from the field, and then I can count as many cards that can hold a spell counter, and then I can destroy that many cards on the field. Now if I was able to keep more cards on the field, I would have been able to destroy his entire board, unfortunately, but I can only destroy 2 because it's him, and then it's going to be this card that's on the field. So now he comes out, and I target Baron de FLEUR and the hot red Archfiend, but the Cyber Synchron in the grave that he put from 8 years ago, so that was, I feel like that's super lucky on him that he even had that. He didn't, if you really pay attention to it, like that's why I'm like trying to really explain it to you guys, because that was like one of the cards that he started off the deck with. He didn't, maybe there was a way he could have put it there in another way to be safe. When I used to play my Link deck and stuff like that, I would always try to make sure that this card was in my graveyard, if at all possible, because it saves an extra deck monster, extra Monster Zone monster. So that was, I feel like that was a little bit more luck on his end, because I would have literally cleared this field and would attack that, and I would have been fine. And that would have been fine. I also thought at this position, I thought I could have maybe crashed this in, because when this card dies with a spell counter by battle, you actually get a spell. So, and then I could have then, and this is me hindsight thinking, I think then I could have just got Regeki. I could have just Regeki this straight up. I didn't opt to go to that route. I just killed his back row, and I figured since he can't, I thought at this point that he only had 1 negate, and I didn't think, look, maybe he can redo his board. And I'm gonna be even more honest, I forgot everything that was in his hand at this point. But I could have also did that Regeki. This is where the line of play I think I should have took. I should have attacked into this. I would have Regeki killed both of them, right? Because this card doesn't have any weird things like that. Yeah, I could have Regeki killed both of them. This card would have had 3 counters, because I could play this and then it would have 3. Then I could have got another monster in my hand, and then he would have had to literally build his board up from scratch without having this card in the mix. But then his turn comes, he draws another card, and I think that this is where it all starts. Now tuning could have been a card that he had. I think that if I pay attention, it was this rightmost card. I know in Runeterra you could actually check which card. This could have been the card that he had from the get-go. But he does play it. It could have been the card he just drew or not. So he adds 1 synchro thing. I'm actually going to negate it with Master, and I thought that when I negated it, this was going to like affect it. I thought he was going to negate it. It's not a target when he negates a card that activates, but he lets me negate. So I was just like, hey, what? I don't get it. So that goes through. That's when I thought of the thing, like maybe he can only do that once per turn, once while it's up. Then he's going to use this effect. He can't target this because it has a spell counter on it. He's going to then go through his normal chain of events. Doppelhang. Oh no, that's his other card. Ah, I realize what it is now. So, okay, I'm sorry. Now, this is my actually first time rewatching the video. So he either had 2 Doppel Wars, which I'm pretty sure you can only use this once per turn. Either he can only use it once per turn, or he didn't want to use it twice because it was going to mess up his field. He would have had too many monsters on the field. I think that's what it is, because if it had to be that, literally logically, because he would have just used this before. Send the top card of the deck to the graveyard, benefits him, and then adding a Synchron from into his hand also benefited him. So he would have used that. So he top decked that. There's 100% top decked that, and he had 2 of those in the hand. So that really goes back to show you how much that Ash would have just wrecked him, and he would have just been screwed this entire turn. He would have had some plays, but not. He would have pretty much. Oh, that's what's crazy. That's where DK's video, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be 10,000 videos. That's how crazy the card is that it comes from like nothing. It comes from like maybe 1, maybe 2 cards. And that's what's so crazy about it. So now he's doing this again, and he's gonna start going up 5 and a 3, making another 8. And it's a Psyframe. I actually want to make a Psyframe deck. I actually really liked it. I think it's pretty cool. Chaos Ruler, from all the nonsense that he put in his graveyard, is gonna be able to come back. He's gonna be able to bring up the Guardian, banish that to be able to bring a Dragon Synchro back in the field. Then it's the Stardust Synchron that he had in his hand. He can tribute and then do that. Stardust Trail, I don't remember what that is. If a monster you control is tributed, which is from these new Stardust cards, I guess that's how they work. You can special summon this card from the hand of the graveyard, but it banishes when it leaves. If a warrior, Synchro, or Stardust monster is single summon using this as a material, you get a token if you want it. So he's gonna do 4 and 4. Even sets up another negate if he wants it, but he's just gonna go with Boreal Savage. No Synchro, no links in the graveyard, so he can't do that. He's gonna attack into here. Now I get my thing. But if you really think about it, the combo that he did had nothing to do with Baron de Fleur on the field. So that was his follow-up regardless. His follow-up was that regardless. I would have had to have a little bit more set up in order to maybe even remotely battle against that. So I'm gonna end up losing here. But I really think that it's just educational. It's educational. I want to go to confirm deck, and I'm going to turn this video into more of a how to beat this deck kind of thing. So one of the bigger things is like some of the card effects. Like if you definitely want to stop anything in the hand, I'm thinking True King might be one of your things. I think a Virtual World deck will be really strong against this, because he can't run, if you really pay attention to it, he can't run too many hand traps. He really can't. So you can see he has the 2 Call by the Graves. I think he'll probably run 3 Ash, only 2 Ash, and 2 Maxis, and that's just this guy's version. You know, it doesn't mean that this is how everyone, but you'll see that a lot of it is a lot of these other cards that are really, like, he even had like 1 Kaiju in here, but he can't, you know, he can't run too many other things. It's very combo centric, but again, it runs off of a lot of things that can make the combo happen. So you really want to like stop, if you can True King it or something like that, or you can bring out something that banishes, that's going to be your thing. That's why I'm thinking Virtual War might be the best deck to kind of beat against this, or any deck dealing with straight up banishing cards whenever they're going to be sent to the graveyard. It's going to be your go-to, and it's usually the go-to anyway. Another good one obviously would be Skill Drain. I would think that Eldritch would still do relatively well against this, because as you saw, a lot of the effects activate on the field. So Eldritch should be pretty good if you guys have your pocket Eldritch deck. I think some decks that might struggle a little bit will maybe be Sky Striker. I think Sky Striker might have a little bit of issue with this deck, just because of the fact that once it has all that stuff going on, Sky Striker, they're flexible, but not as flexible. Like, they still need to do stuff, and I think that they'll be crushed by a couple of those turns. And then you saw his turn, his second turn, he literally had what was that, maybe 12,000 ready to go to attack with. And Sky Striker usually needs to be able to disable 1 or 2 things and slow the opponent down. I think it wouldn't be as good. So I'm thinking Eldritch will have some fun, but they probably still need Skill Drain in the opener, and they still need to go first. They also have the Paleozoic card that can straight up banish a card. They can banish one of their openings, especially that junk. Where is this guy? This devil of a monster. This card's restricted to 1, funny enough, but not like some of these other cards. This card, I think you need to negate this card, or if you see it's about to come out, you need to stop or banish the tuner or something like that immediately. You cannot let this card do its thing. I think that's it. I honestly think that's it. Like this card also, if you see it goes to the graveyard, you might want to call by the graveyard or use some type of banish thing, but it definitely allows you to still play though, which that's why I can't fully complain about it. But I do think that there is, you know, a lot of flexible ways to counter the deck if it becomes a little bit too popular because of how easy it is to get this one out. And this guy's only running one of them. You know, maybe, you know, you can run multiple copies, but you also have to keep in mind the deck limit here, right? Like, so when it comes down to how many cards are in the extra deck, they can't run multiple copies of too many cards. They can only run a couple of them. They still need to go, you know, speeder into this, I'm just clicking random ones. You know, they have to have a lot of combo stuff in there, right? So there's also some cool stuff that if you were to banish or get some of these out of the way, he'll have a harder time working from the graveyard. It's very graveyard centric deck. So I would love to see some more banish decks kind of come out the woodworks. I definitely want to play first turn virtual world, get out my QB or whatever her name is, the level 9 synchro, and then just see how they try to do their combos and just see if they can even really get stuff done when their cards are getting banished in comparison to them going to the graveyard. And like Junk Synchron can't work, you know, this card can't work. Like there's a lot of cards that just don't work if they get the second turn and there's a banish thing set up. So hopefully that helps you guys. Me explaining it mid-match, and then also me explaining, looking at the deck, and then after explaining how the deck works. I hope that helps you guys a lot, because one thing about games and like meta is like, how do you beat it if it becomes super popular? Because, you know, that's what the internet does. Some people will build towards it. Like I heard in one DK video, they said that they're gonna probably ban stuff. They won't even ban the current stuff that's broken. So I highly doubt that they'll ban the brand new stuff that they're trying to make money off of. They're not gonna ban that. If they do, that's even a worse decision. That's probably the most terrible decision. To drop something and then ban it or nerf it right after it released would be absolutely terrible. I don't think the game would be able to survive that, to be completely honest with you. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.